Here we go again, video 2. If you've been following me so far, or if you have me on IG and seen my post about me posting YouTube videos now and starting this YouTube page. Again, I'm Jalen Treggle, and today I want to give a little bit more insight on who I am. Not a reiteration of the first video, but more specifically, I want to talk about my beliefs and what drives me. I want to be very specific in saying beliefs because I believe many things. And I think in this world, as human beings, we all believe something. Nothing that we live our life by is exclusively factual. I believe that a lot of things that drive us in life and what we have to live for is actually more on the side of belief. I think the misconception today is that most people think that what we live by is just assumed, and it's just in reality, nothing is really is assumed, or even if it is assumed, there is an origin to it. There is an origin to the set of beliefs that you have, and I think your beliefs really do shape the life that you set out to live and what you think is right and wrong, and a lot of things that people already know. But I think it's really important for people to understand the why behind what I do, and really get an understanding of my convictions and why I choose to actually share this message and share with others what I do and try to encourage others. Alongside of that, I am hitting an upper body day. I just got done with a throwing session. I actually tried to shoot this video outside, but I was freaking like this the whole time because mosquitoes was killing me. I'm up in a little bit of a tall grassy area trying to throw to my throwing net. I'm itching right now just freaking thinking about it. I shouldn't have even touched my legs. But here I am about to get this upper body session in. So I guess I'm gonna show my upper body session along with talking. I'm shirtless, not because I'm trying to flaunt anything. Actually, I'm a little bit more overweight in regards to my goals. I don't really have any aesthetic goals, and I'll actually go into what I want to talk about moving forward. But yeah, my goal is not to be at the weight I am. I'm around 227-ish, 225. I keep on fluctuating because I'm trying to manage my weight and manage my strength and my gains athletically. And I don't want to sacrifice one area so much from just to lose this weight. I'm actually going to lose it very slow. The reason I got my shirt off is because I have no drip. And it's not because I don't know how to put myself together. It's literally because I don't care for it as much now, especially where I am financially, and also with where I'm at in regards to my life journey and what I'm trying to prioritize. There's nothing wrong with looking nice or trying to put on good fits. I think the way that you present yourself can actually be a benefit to the message you're trying to share or whatever you're trying to do in your life. Drawing somebody in is really important. But I mean, I have gray shorts, freaking gray shirt, and plus when I'm in the weight room, I really don't like to have stuff on. It gets kind of sweaty, and I'd rather not be sweating in something that's just gonna weigh me down. I'd rather just let the sweat flow, especially because it's on the garage ground and I don't have to clean anything up. So I'm gonna express myself more as I begin this warm up. I guess as I begin to talk about what I believe in, it's important to talk about what I don't believe in. Um, I'm not gonna go too much into like my testimony. Maybe I'll make that for another video. But um, when I was younger, I questioned things a lot because my mom passed away when I was 6, and I don't know why I was like this, but it made me question a lot very early on. I think when somebody deals with something traumatic, it makes them question a lot of things about the reality of life when they're at such a young age. It's not so much just about fantasies and just trying to believe what your parents tell you to believe or what your school tells you to believe or whatever authority and influence you're around tells you to believe. But I rather like for my situation, I really wanted to question people and understand what life really was about. why did people just say cliches like, "Oh, your mom's watching over you," and uh, you know, everything's gonna be okay, and your mom wants you to be strong. All these cliche things that I don't say this in disrespect, but just didn't make sense to me because people would just say it so freely, and I didn't really understand why they would say it. Like, was it just to make people feel good? As I was younger, I really understood that a lot of people said things just to make them feel good and not to really answer the question on their heart and trying to come to terms and cope with the things. Their coping mechanisms were just to say cliche things to make them feel good. And this is not me trying to bash down on that, but I do think that there is some there's something that liberated me beyond what people could feel seemingly liberated from in regards to them believing in like cliche phrases and words that people would tell them and try to affirm them with. And that was what I believe is the truth. And I think that no matter what you believe, and I want to be careful on me saying this, no matter what you believe, if it's in sync with a lot of the reality of life and it aligns really well, you'll start to realize that no matter what you are burdened by, there is a lot more freedom in knowing more of the truth than there is in living in the delusion and just trying to uh, better your situation with really not so good coping mechanisms. As I continue, I might just break in between here and there just to get a little bit more focus on my warm up. As I warm up, some days I'm not as focused, I'm not as locked in, and when I'm videoing as I'm working out, it can be sometimes problematic of me trying to lock in while talking. So I'll probably cut some clips just to lock in and focus on my warm up or my workout itself. I'll talk more so during the breaks I have in between my sets. As y'all hear, my playlist when working out is gonna be all over the place. Just generally, just like how I like the way, just like the way I like my music played. Generally, it's just all over the place. My playlists are never one vibe. I hear that word a lot today. People like a certain vibe for everything, especially in their playlist. My playlists aren't a vibe. It is freaking all over the place. First, I got some dips. I love this exercise. Got 4 sets of 5 to 8 on these. I'm not super setting this at anything, so as I catch my breath and rest for a minute, I'm going to speak a little bit more on things. So, as I was saying, I want to talk about what I don't believe in first. Um, One, I'm not a universalist. I do not believe that all paths of life and all thoughts in life are correct. That can come off arrogant to some, but let's just be honest. We all think that in some regard, what we believe in is right. If we didn't, we wouldn't have the country we have. We wouldn't have the standards and the things and the laws that we have to live the life that we do. Not everything that we can see in this world, whether it's directly or indirectly, can be proven scientifically. So that's where faith and belief comes in to give us meaning and understanding of what we're doing and what direction we're given. And in a lot of ways, which I'm not necessarily going to argue against, people say that belief, faith, religion, and all these other things gives people hope and some reason to live, which is true, but uh, I don't think that's why everybody believes in what they believe in. And me specifically, I don't believe in it just for the hope of it. There is hope in what I do believe in, but I don't just believe just because I have no direction. So if you don't have a weight belt, or if you do, but you kind of want the overspeed uh, power effect of doing something like dips, having a band to resist it is a fun way to do it. You still get the progressive overload effect of doing it without adding weight. It's just a difference of where the resistance is. Example of like people that are universalists or people that think like, oh, the Christian, the Muslim, the Buddhist, uh, the Satanist, or whatever is all equally correct. Um, Whereas somebody that's Muslim, like for instance, I have friends that are Muslim, and we can coexist and we can respect each other, but we can also respect each other to the extent of saying we believe two different things. We believe this is right. We believe this is wrong. What we believe is right. What you believe is not necessarily entirely correct. So we disagree with you, but we can still find ways to coexist. Universalists would say all that is irrelevant because everybody that has something that they believe in that pushes towards something that is, I guess, higher than themselves or outside of themselves is equally correct. And I just don't believe in that. The next thing I would say I'm not is that I'm not a new age spiritualist. I'm not into like mysticism, spiritualism, new ageism. And if you don't know what that me, if you don't know what that is, basically what it is that there are people. It's the belief that everything is so interconnected. Now, I would say there is some truth to that things are interconnected, but people believe in quote unquote energy, and that the energy that's interconnected within the whole universe is kind of what uh, that's what people look to as their god or something to adhere to or worship the laws of the universe and valuing energy and being really into like the ethereal aspect of life. Um, I don't know. I would have to go more in depth in writing, not because I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but really being focused and being able to spell this out completely. But I mean, examples of this would just be people on the internet, and you've heard it a lot of times, and maybe you use it. Is reading people's energy, going off of people's energy, uh, being spiritual and not religious, and kind of just listening to the universe. There's been no real argument that people have given me throughout my life that shows that that's something that I should adhere to or that I should believe in, something that's credible or has enough evidence for me to kind of put my belief in. And yeah, that's it, it gives me a bad taste in my mouth when I see these things. Not because I think that I'm better than anybody that believes in this, but it's just that nobody wants to push this as something willing to stand upon or something to stand for. Like if people claim that it's so true, but they're not willing to go on the mountaintops and scream it out and tell people why they should believe in this. It kind of goes in with universalism of like everybody's okay, just try to choose your own path. But they contradict themselves because if somebody chooses a path that's very dark or what we would consider evil societally, then people would say that's not right. So you went from everybody's right to somebody's wrong. That's just very inconsistent. Those be making you feel like, ugh. I love those. Okay, next thing I got is these landmine kneeling presses. Really trying to focus on more stable exercises for my upper body right now, so I can try to get as strong as possible. I've figured, I've realized that that's like the best way to kind of maintain your strength while also shedding weight is to get really, really strong. Yes, you're gonna build a little bit mass from getting strong, but really the tension and going in hypertrophy sets is what's gonna build you like really, really massively, along with eating a lot. So as I'm trying to decrease my eating, if I can maintain strength without having to uh, dip so much in energy and strength, energy in the right way, talking about in a scientific way, that would be good for me. Supersetting these with some landmine rows, single arm. And supersets be getting you a little bit. I mean, that's the whole point of supersetting them, and to not waste so much time, especially on my upper body days. It's better to get the aerobic effect of supersetting on upper body days and lower body days. But as I was saying, the next thing I would say I don't believe in is it's kind of inverse, but I don't believe in the other religions outside of Christianity. Um, I can't go in depth about each religion because that would take so much time. But basically, going to religious school all your life, I don't know if it's like this for everybody, but for me, you learn about all the other world religions. Not all of them, but a lot of the major ones, especially the ones that people want to make a big argument about against Christianity. And what I've learned through studying all of these other religions is that uh, there's contradictions I seem to find in each one in regards to what they believe in, especially in the aspect of reaching heaven or reaching salvation or whatever they claim the highest aspect of living is. And the next thing would be what they perceive of their creator or who they think the creator is. Um, and yeah, the third aspect would be there is no historical accounts of any of their prophets or their whoever they call God doing what was stated in Christianity. Oh, shoot. I'm a Christian, as is kind of obvious. Um, but more and truly, what I believe of the faith and what I believe for the what my central belief is in regards to faith and religion. Uh, One, before I'm a Christian, I would say I'm a believer and follower of Jesus. And the reason why I want to make a distinction is because if you talk about Christians and just throw the word out there, and the first thing that people come to think of is crusades or Donald Trump, and a lot of misrepresentations of the faith. But I would say I'm a follower of Jesus because my initial beliefs start with understanding who Jesus is, how he was historically reported as a person, and what the Bible expresses him to be in regards to the the Gospels and how they report his life and what they claim to see him do, and then the history behind the people who lived with Jesus, like his disciples and historians that lived in that time, talked about the bloodshed of many people who claimed to be followers of him, who gave their life up for the sake of getting his message to everyone. I don't want to really go into the religious aspects of the Bible and the Old Testament and New Testament, but I would say that the reason why I believe is because there's a lot of evidence through historical recordings, archaeology, and what others have reported about Jesus to show that one, he was truly a person that lived, but also the effect of his ministry on the world and what people claim to die for and to see, and saying that he's a divine being, that he is God, he's Yahweh, uh, and that he died for us. Uh, People wouldn't lose their life for something that they would think is a lie or a delusion, and millions of people wouldn't claim to believe something that people died for and also try to spread across the world. And yes, means before it got to Europe and how it got whitewashed. I'm talking about the origins of the Christian faith. Oh my gosh, my left is so weak compared to my right. Okay. Considering my belief in Christianity and what it entails, I do believe that Jesus is the only way to heaven, and that heaven is a place, and that hell is a place, and that you put your faith in Jesus and you actually follow him. Um, there is a process of a renewal of a heart where you will generate true desires to follow him and not just claim to say it and not follow him. And I would say the difference between a true Christian, this is what I'm confident in saying, the difference between a true Christian or true follower of Christ and somebody that claims that they're a Christian is that they will show the remorse in doing things that are against Jesus. They will show the conviction to give up things that the world generally tells you to follow just to pursue something that God has put on their heart, or generally what God has put on everybody's heart, which is to spread Jesus' ministry and the gospel to others. So, so what that means is that when people argue why there's so many denominations in Christianity, and the credibility and the integrity of Christianity is not to be recognized because of the denominations, I would say the true somebody that's truly in the faith understands the central point that Jesus died for our sins. He died to take on the wrath that God would put on us to judge the earth according to our our sins, our criminal acts. But God is altogether merciful as well, because he came down as a person to take on that burden himself so that we wouldn't have to take it on. And all we have to do is submit ourselves to Jesus. So if somebody doesn't believe in that central idea of Christianity, then I would say that they're very misinformed, or they're just stubborn and they don't want to believe in the truth. They want to believe in a fabricated way that's more universalistic, more pluralistic, and more spiritual, and add in some mysticism to it. I got these TRX Y raises. I'm gonna superset them with, where's my band? With some overhead tricep work. 15 to 20 of these. Go straight into the triceps. The reason why I'm specifically going overhead for tricep is because I already went dips for well, I did overhead with a push too, but dips I feel like more of a tricep activation, my dips, and that's with shoulder extension. So I want to do something that trays the triceps in the long way. And next time I do triceps, if I do it at any point the rest of this week, I'll go back to shoulder extension, probably do like a push down. But yeah, now I'm at the cat out the bag that I believe in Christ. Um, I want to talk about some beliefs around that and what my personal convictions are. One of the big things that I see that's lacking, that's a little hypocritical, and Christian Christian culture, especially in the Western world, is our inattention to our bodies, neglect to our bodies and our mind. Sometimes people try to over spiritualize things to the point to where they don't take into account the practical and the physical. Believe it or not, this is actually talked about in the Bible. A lot of people try to make arguments about things that we don't do well in the Western world, but everything is in the Bible. And if I'm not mistaken, it's in First Corinthians. Paul talks about this to the church in regard. The church of Corinthians is trying to um, minimalize or trivialize the body and its impact on the spiritual life. But Paul actually says to take care of our bodies, that our bodies are a temple, and that what we do with our bodies actually has a spiritual effect. And I do believe that everything that is tied to our bodies actually does have a spiritual effect, and what spiritually happens to us has an effect on our mental health and our physical health, especially considering consciousness is tied to our bodies and our soul. We can't really understand why we have a conscious, but I do think that is the gateway, the pathway from the spiritual to the mental. Uh, they they're kind of touching each other through our conscious. So yeah, I do believe that what you feed yourself on this earth, whether it's through your mind or through your body, has a huge impact on your spiritual life. And I think that it's my conviction to kind of put together a ministry that shows that what God has given you in regards to your vessel is important in carrying out His mission for you. This is my song. This is when I was trying to find some Islander Christian music, and this song is a banger to go along to my other convictions. Another one of my convictions is that everything in this world, whether it's music, uh, any other form of entertainment, anything, this is so vague. I'm trying to make it more specific. Anything you can think of that somebody would consider worldly as opposed to Christian, it's just a perversion of what God made naturally. Uh, God made the earth perfect for the earth was cursed. So that means that everything from nature to things that humans can create is just a perversion of what God has created natural if it's something that goes against God. So I don't believe music is inherently evil. I don't believe sports is inherently evil. I don't believe entertainment is inherently evil. There's everything that I'm talking about, you can see in the Bible in its natural state or in its unperverted way. So, with that being said, I believe that God has given us all desires for a reason. And if the desires go against God, it's just a perverted version of what the desire would be in its purest form. So I do believe that people can make good things with their desires. And I believe that ultimately your desire is at its most ultimate form when it's under the control of the Lord, when you submit it to the Lord and you let the Lord transform what that desire is in its essence, as opposed to what it can be perverted to and what you can do with it in your own means. Oh, that's what I love about TRX. They're hella easy to progressively overload or regress, and it's easy to kind of do partial reps to burn out on something. And it's really just you can find creative ways to make combination lifts and just change the force vector on things. Oh my gosh. So that wraps it up for the lifting portion. Now I'll just be going into some aerobic conditioning, talking a little bit more to finish it out. So my last convictions are that as people try to catch Christians in hypocrisy, and for Christians to understand, is that Romans 14 is really important to kind of understand what I'm talking about in terms of the central point of the faith, and then what personal convictions are. Like listening to secular music, being in certain crowds, and doing certain ministries or pursuing certain passions is up to the believer because God gave us free will. God gave us commands, but there's a lot of freedom in the way that we choose to pursue the mission that God gives to us. There's a macro mission, which is to spread His word and to recruit people back to focus on God and to know who God is and to find true liberation and eternal life. But God gives everybody different skills and abilities and interests in order to pursue that. And also, not everything that somebody indulges in will corrupt them in the same way it will corrupt somebody else. Somebody can eat ice cream every day and maintain their body. And for somebody else, that could be a huge temptation. Romans 14 talks about how you should not encourage others to do something that might make them fall. But on the other side, somebody shouldn't condemn someone for doing something that might make them fall, but doesn't make the other person. One thing I could share for everybody, no matter what you believe, is to question why you believe what you believe. Ultimately, I believe Jesus is the way and truth, but I do believe that being a critical thinker is ultimately the best way to come down to some type of assurance to the things that you believe. And I'm not even talking about the ultimate spiritual and foundational things about the earth, but also just interpreting science, choosing somebody to guide you, just different things. So many different things that you choose day to day and what you pick to follow. You can either be brain dead about it and just let your brain rot and be a zombie or a robot, or you can actually ask the right questions, ask questions that lead you deeper to the understanding of it. I'm very thankful for the sport of football, and I'm thankful that God has given me the abilities to play, because football has really helped me carry out my system of questioning things. And the foundation of football is very Christian. So the main tenets of Christianity, uh, in the aspects of treating others a certain way and building within a body, is very relevant in football. So it's helped me become a better leader. It's helped me become a better brother. It's helped me become a better man. And it's helped me stay focused on Jesus, because everything about football is very selfless. So you are putting yourself below the mission, below the team. The team is always above you, and it's because it's for something bigger than you. And as you take on newcomers, and as you try to build a team and try to chase excellence year after year, you build upon your team with new stories, with new people, new backgrounds, and so the team learns something, and the team also gives a part to the newcomer that is not originally a part of their life, something that the newcomer can take out of it and take on to the next mission of their life. And that's why I think you see a lot of football players become CEOs, police officers, firefighters, and in positions where the decision making is very dynamic, the pressure is very high, and working with a team is really relevant in the jobs and careers that people pursue outside of football, because football players know how to take on that responsibility, be self-accountable, but also know how to be accountable for everybody else, treat people with respect, and also push people to not be stagnant, to pursue the mission, pursue the better parts of themselves, as opposed to being very relaxed and stagnant in their life.
So when I push anything on YouTube, social media, the reason why I'm playing football is all to bring the attention back to Christ. So if you are irritated or you don't want to follow this message because it's I'm subscribing to Jesus, that's okay, because what you're coming to see is this. There's no way I can hide this. And a lot of people out in the Western world, I would say especially, try to hide their faith. And that makes me question if they really even truly have faith, because if something that you're convicted by is something so strong on your conscience, on your heart, that you can't help but to express. You can't help but stand for it and fight for it and put your life on the line for it, because you know it to be true. You know it's something that you cannot you cannot sit with yourself if you keep it within. And you know that if it's important for everybody else, you will give everything to give that to others. So that is the basis of why I live and why I try to help others. I started the video with talking about drip, and now you see the drip. I don't care how I look right now. Probably look a little chubby because I started to get a little bloated and not have as much structure to myself after a workout. But last thing I would want to leave off with is focus on being more aesthetic than aesthetic. And being aesthetic is forgetting about the self, forgetting about selfish desires, and being more for the cause. I know this will probably ring a bell to those who are more of a Buddhist following and things of that nature. But in the Christian sense, God doesn't want you to be away from your desires, but your desires should be ultimately for Him. And so desires that are more selfish are things that bring us glory, when the glory should be given to God. Everything will be in vain if you don't do it for the Lord. Vanity is not good for your life. People that have all the vanity in the world, all the glory in the world, end up still doing bad things and even committing suicide, because that's not going to fulfill the God-sized hole that's in your heart. Being significant, having something to push for, having purpose, which only ultimately Jesus gives you, is way more valuable than anything that you can gain of this world. So the day that you're struggling to stand up for what is right, you're struggling to start something, you're struggling on getting your life moving, don't worry about how it looks. Don't worry about the aesthetics. Be aesthetic. It'll take you a long way.